First in high definition, this is News Center 7 at noon.
This case has never been cold.
16 months after a disabled man and his daughter were murdered, now 2 men are under arrest in connection to the crime. Good afternoon, I'm John Paul. During a news conference today, the sheriff revealed new details about the 2 people they say were involved in the deaths of Bob and Colleen Gruby. News Center 7's Gabrielle Enright is live with the new details for us. Gabrielle.
John, that news conference only lasted about 15 minutes. The sheriff did not even take any questions from the media. He gave us court documents about the 2 suspects. Still, though, he says this case is not over. 18-year-old Trevin Sanders of Union City, Ohio, has been identified as the second suspect. He's been charged with 27 criminal counts, including aggravated murder, kidnapping, aggravated robbery, and burglary.
He purposely, with prior calculation and design, caused the death of Robert and Colleen Gruby by means of a firearm.
The first suspect, Bryant Rhodes, was arrested yesterday. He's charged with obstructing justice. Bob and Colleen Gruby were discovered dead in their Fort Recovery farmhouse November 30th, 2011. The pair were bound with duct tape and shot to death. People in the small community were frightened and now hope the recent arrest will bring some peace to the Gruby family.
I mean, I really hope they get some closure by this. I really do.
And today at 5, you'll hear more about this case, more details. We also can tell you the reason that this case is not over is because the sheriff was telling us that there may be more charges in the future. He is also telling us that there could be more people arrested. Reporting live, Gabrielle Enright, News Center 7.
And staying with that, the Mercer County Sheriff's Department is asking for additional information about the crime. If you know anything at all, call their tip line right there on the screen, 567-890-8477. Now, the Gruby double murder was one of 4 cases that we profiled in a primetime special right here on Channel 7 last fall. The goal of the show, Miami Valley Murder Mysteries, was to generate new leads in these unsolved crimes. Today, we can report arrests in 2 of these cases. As we mentioned, 2 people now charged in the murders of Bob and Colleen Gruby. Last month, the man was charged with the robbery and murder of a local choir director, Corey Turner. Authorities tell us publicity did help them get new information. We will be following the latest in this case. Right now, we're working to find out more about the criminal histories of the suspects who've been arrested. And for updates anytime, and we've got a lot of stuff on the background of this case, go to WHIOTV.com. 2 teens accused of making death threats against a rape victim in Steubenville make their first court appearances today. The 15 and 16-year-old girls have been in juvenile detention since their arrests last week. This all stems from the rape trial against 2 high school football players convicted of raping a girl. Now, the girls accused of making the threatening post on Twitter included threats to kill the victim. A Clark County man's been indicted on a half-dozen rape charges for allegedly sexually abusing 2 sisters. 35-year-old Sean Hagar was arrested nearly 2 weeks ago after a teen girl told officials at school that she was being sexually abused. Now, the girl told investigator the abuse had been going on for 7 years and that she only came forward now because Hagar had allegedly started abusing her sister. A Columbus man will spend the next 27 years in prison for sexually abusing 2 girls. Last month, 42-year-old Quincy Phipps was convicted of rape and gross sexual imposition. Several years ago, Phipps was arrested in connection to a cold case murder from 1993. Those charges had to be dropped because the witness who told police Phipps confessed to the crime disappeared. A murder trial moves into its 2nd day for a man accused of killing 2 people in Dayton. 38-year-old Terrence Snowden is charged with 4 counts of murder. He's accused of shooting Gerald Brown and Dennis Glover inside of a home on North Broadway Street 4 years ago. On Tuesday, jurors were shown autopsy photos of that victim. A second suspect, Kenneth Pope, has already been convicted for his role in the murders. He's serving 36 years to life in prison. A Springfield man remains in jail this afternoon because of what he's accused of doing to a co-worker. Our cameras were there when Anthony Smith appeared in a Springfield courtroom. Investigators arrested him earlier this month on a theft charge, but Smith had been wanted for almost a year for an incident at Abbey Brown on Commerce Road. Investigators say Smith cornered a co-worker there, exposed himself, and performed a sex act. Smith's bond is set at $28,000. Beaver Creek police say a man confessed to a joyride that damaged more than 30 homes in one neighborhood. 24-year-old Royce Ogden Jr. faces 6 counts of criminal damaging. Now, police say that he weaved in and out of front yards around the Green Meadows neighborhood, hitting fire hydrants, trees, and traffic signs.
They went through my flower beds and ran over a dogwood tree in the middle of the yard.
Now, police matched Ogden's truck to a piece of headlight they found in a yard. A crash this morning ends with a man being thrown from his car. This was the scene in the 1700 block of James H. McGee right around 1 o'clock this morning. We're told the driver lost control, crashed into a tree, and was ejected. His injuries are believed to be minor, but he was taken to the hospital. We're following some breaking news right now at noon. A neighborhood in Piqua is being evacuated after dynamite was discovered in a nearby home. Officers and firefighters are reportedly going door to door right now. This is on South Street. They're asking people to leave their homes as a safety precaution. Now, we have a crew headed to the scene at this point. We're going to bring you more information as we get it. And this just into the newsroom as well. Traffic congested on Salem Avenue and Gettysburg in Dayton. Police are still cleaning up from a two-car crash happened just after 10 a.m. One person was taken to the hospital. We're told they only have minor injuries. Turning to weather now, we did get a little bit of sun today. Still lots of clouds out there. Storm Center 7 meteorologist Rich Wardzik has a first look for us. Rich?
And John, it seems like a battle that right now the clouds are winning, but not completely. You can still see some light shining through there in the Miamisburg weather cam. Not a bad looking day. It's just awfully chilly out there still with that west breeze at 13 miles per hour. 37 degrees. It really feels like 29. Had a few flurries earlier as we go through the afternoon, maybe a sprinkle or two, or what we like to call soft snow, if you will, the kind of a mixture of the two. That's all we're looking at for the talk of snow. Now we turn our attention to rain, because we're finally going to get the temperatures to come up. Unfortunately, this is going to have an impact on your Easter plans. I'll get to the latest 5-day forecast here in a few minutes. John?
All right, Rich, thanks. The city of Dayton's responding to some concerns over proposed changes to its economic development arm. The plan is for the Citywide Development Corporation to be privatized and money taken for projects elsewhere. Center 7's Mike Campbell live to explain all this for us. Mike?
John, Citywide Development Corporation plays huge roles in business and housing developments, providing loans that the city isn't set up to administer. But Citywide now wants to pursue some new sources of funding to do more, and the proposed change is leading to fears they could use city money somewhere else.
What will happen with some of the assets, the public dollars that were spent?
That's the question a lot of Dayton residents are asking city commissioners about a proposed change to Citywide Development Corporation. And leaders at the city are anxious to answer. They say there's no fear of any money they've appropriated to Citywide being used elsewhere. Here's the issue. Dayton created Citywide in the early 70s to help do economic and housing development projects. Almost all of their funding came from the city. They've used it and are using it in places like Techtown, establishing Dayton as a high technology center. But as city budgets tighten, Citywide's board would like to pursue new sources of funding. The president of Citywide told commissioners they'd like to change to a Community Development Financial Institution, or CDFI. This would allow them to pursue federal money from the Department of Treasury. It also raised fears that instead of the city's contributions now and from the past being used in Dayton, the city would have no say in how or where the cash would be spent. Leaders say that fear is unfounded.
The focus does not change. The focus continues to be the city of Dayton. And this is really about how we can do more, not less, in the city of Dayton.
And city commissioners put their money where their mouth is today by approving more money for Citywide. You'll hear how much and what they think of the future tonight at 5. For now, Mike Campbell, News Center 7.
A possible death threat against President Obama made it a coffee shop in Ohio. What two people said that has them behind bars in the northern part of the state. And the former director of the CIA makes his first public appearance since he resigned in disgrace. What he had to say about the affair that led to his ousting. Next. Faulty electrical wiring to a sump pump may be to blame for starting a fire at a home in Dayton. When crews arrived on the scene here at Clarkson Avenue last night, they saw smoke coming from the basement. A mother and her 2 young daughters, they were inside this home when the fire broke out. They were able to make it out safely, though. Governor Kasich's budget director says state income and business taxes will be cut soon. Right now, officials are trying to figure out just how to pay for the cuts. Republicans and the State Chamber of Commerce are concerned, though, because those cuts would be made possible by extending the sales tax. The House Finance Chairman believes lawmakers will replace the sales tax extension with another plan. A man and a woman were arrested in northern Ohio for apparently threatening to kill President Obama. These pictures show some of what officers found in that couple's car. An employee at a cafe claims the man says he was heading to Washington to kill the president and set things straight. Police confiscated pocket knives, a gun, ammunition, and drugs from that car. The man also claims he's the illegitimate son of President Dwight D. Eisenhower. Former CIA Director David Petraeus made his first public appearance since an extramarital affair ended his career. Now, he spoke last night at the University of Southern California in Los Angeles. It was an event honoring veterans and reserve officers in training. A retired four-star general immediately apologized for his affair.
Please allow me to begin my remarks this evening by reiterating how deeply I regret and apologize for the circumstances that led to my resignation from the CIA and caused such pain for my family, friends, and supporters.
Petraeus had an affair with his biographer. He resigned as the head of the CIA in November. The United States Supreme Court takes up another same-sex marriage issue today. This case concerns same-sex couples who already legally married and whether the federal government can deny them benefits. Randall Pinkston reports from the Supreme Court.
A few dozen people collected tickets to enter the Supreme Court for a second day of arguments on same-sex marriage.
It's the golden ticket right here.
Today, the justices are considering a challenge to the 1996 Defense of Marriage Act, or DOMA. It bars federal recognition and benefits for legally married same-sex couples. Plaintiff Edith Windsor sued after she got a $363,000 estate tax bill when her partner of 44 years died. If Windsor had been married to a man, her estate tax bill would have been zero. Same-sex marriage is legal in 9 states and the District of Columbia, and some say the federal government needs to catch up.
This is discrimination, plain and simple, and in this day and age, it's ridiculous and embarrassing.
But those who support the law say the court can't change the definition of marriage.
In the beginning, God made them male and female. Have you not read that? This is not complicated.
The Obama administration declined to defend DOMA in court, so House Republicans hired an attorney to defend the law. The justices are looking at whether the House Republicans even have the legal standing to defend DOMA in court. If they don't, the court may avoid ruling on whether the law is constitutional. Lower courts did agree with Windsor, and she would likely still get her refund, but the Defense of Marriage Act would remain on the books. Randall Pinkston, CBS News, the Supreme Court.
Let's turn to Wall Street now to see how the Dow is faring. Live pictures from the New York Stock Exchange. Different picture than we saw yesterday. Right now dropping, but it's trying to gain back a little bit of ground. Although the Dow down 38 points right now, sitting at 14,520.
Good afternoon. I'm Chris Collins from 95.7 FM and AM 1290 News Talk Radio, WHIO. With the farm markets for News Center 7 at noon. The local grain market quotations provided by Bunge North America. Wheat is up 6 cents at $7.38 a bushel. Corn up 2 cents at $7.51. Soybeans down today 2 cents at $14.58. The butcher hog carcass values from United Producers steady today at $68.50 per hundredweight. Listen to Miami Valley's Morning News with me, Chris Collins, on News Talk Radio, WHIO, and have a great afternoon.
And here's a look at the price of oil this noon hour. It's down just a little bit, $95.82 per barrel. One person is dead, 19 others injured after an earthquake that hit central Taiwan. Here's video from inside of a newsroom right here during the trembler. The quake damaged buildings. It crushed at least one car. The woman who was killed died when a temple wall collapsed on top of her.
I want to start off by talking to you all in eastern Indiana. You may have heard the tornado sirens go off earlier today. It's statewide test day for tornado safety via the National Weather Service in the state of Indiana only. And these sirens may go off again in your community at 7:35. And I say may because some communities choose not to sound the sirens on these days. It's the overall warning system that they're testing, and the sirens, of course, are part of that. Good idea to think about your safe place at home where you would go if there's a tornado warning, the same thing at work. Now, of course, we've got the type of weather that would support absolutely none of that talk. We're still stuck in late winter here. Temperatures today in the mid to upper 30s. There's a breeze that's been kicking up out there. I was outside just about an hour and a half ago, and it's uncomfortable out there. We're going to have a little bit of sun to work with throughout the afternoon, and the breeze will stay with us as we fall into the upper 30s by 7 o'clock, mid-30s at 10. You may notice a light rain shower or these little snow pellets. They almost look like BBs, and they're kind of squishy, and that's basically a hybrid, if you will, between a snowflake and a raindrop. Some of the raindrops get to the snowflakes as they're falling down to the ground. So I've had a few people ask me about that before. You may see that today, but it's not going to make any difference on the roads. We're going to have dry conditions. Live Doppler 7 showing you that at the moment, as things look okay from that perspective. So here we go with the big picture here, the satellite radar combo. Most of the actual snowfall is east of the area. Some of this upper level energy is starting to move out. We still have that stream of clouds coming in, and within that cloud deck, a very light precipitation possible. You can tell, too, that the temperatures are moderating, if you will. We had northerly winds yesterday, and the numbers were colder to the north. But now you're seeing where there was actually a bit of sun in Chicago and Fort Wayne. They're a little warmer than we are. So this is a sign that we're headed in the right direction. It's going to be cold tonight, though, as we lose some of these clouds. We'll fall into the 20s as a result. But tomorrow, a little more sun to work with. Temperatures will be well into the 40s, let's say mid-40s at 4 o'clock. We get into your early Friday time frame. Another start in the upper 20s. But the idea with Friday, we're going to hold on to some sun and finally take a run at that 50-degree mark. Finally. It's been a long time, hasn't it? Afternoon forecast, 41 at 4, clouds, a little sun, keeping it breezy and chilly. And your evening, quiet. The worry of refreeze, I mean, it's still there, but this morning's commute went so much better than the morning before. And with this breeze, too, helping to dry things out a little bit. Still a little melting of the snow today. So counteracting that. We'll just watch for some isolated icy spots after 8 o'clock when we finally drop below freezing. Some clearing tonight with a low temperature of 25. So again, the 5-day forecast. I know you've been waiting a little bit about the weekend here. Finally get to temperatures that are a little more representative of this time of the year, mid-50s. Saturday, mostly sunny, 53. And Easter Sunday, at the moment, we're looking at showers maybe later in the day as opposed to the early morning and mid-morning hours. Hopefully, we'll keep it that way. Keep things dry heading to church, and of course, to the big Easter egg hunts for the kids. So we're going to keep a close eye on that forecast, though. John?
All right, Rich, thanks. It was supposed to break ground next month, but apparently that won't be happening. The latest on the decision to bring a racino to Dayton next. And here's a look at last night's winning Ohio lottery numbers. We're following some breaking news right now at noon. A semi-truck crashed onto its side, spilling a load of corn. This video right here just back into our newsroom. This is on State Route 47 on the eastern edge of Versailles. That's the corn right there. We're told the trucker lost control, went through this guardrail right here. Rig crashed onto its side. The driver did suffer some minor injuries. Right now, State Route 47 is closed. Crews are on the scene. They're trying to figure out how they can get this thing uprighted and cleaned up. Could be a while. We'll keep an eye on that for you. The Ohio Racing Commission delayed a decision on Dayton's Racino. Penn Gaming wants to move a raceway park in Toledo to Dayton. They say now a decision won't be made for at least another month. It'd be located at the corner of Needmore and Wagner Ford Roads. The $200 million project would feature harness racing and gaming building. It's expected to create 1,000 jobs. And Attorney General Mike DeWine wants broader religious exemption to Obamacare. In a letter to the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, DeWine and 12 other attorneys general asked for exceptions for religious organizations. The letter argues that requiring religious organizations to provide coverage for things like contraceptives can go against religious beliefs. We'll have a look at what's coming up today on News Center 7 at 5 next. And tracking your every move, the surprising study that was able to track people 95% of the time. Finally, today at noon, a new study shows that it might be easier to figure out a person's identity simply by tracking their smartphone. Researchers tracked more than 1 million people using the GPS on the smartphones. Using simple data points like where people worked, they accurately identified where they were 95% of the time. The authors of the study say that the data will remain anonymous. Our News Center 7 reporters and bureaus are in your communities right now, working on stories we're bringing new at 5. Cheryl McHenry's live with what's developing right now. Cheryl?
Hello, John. More new information is emerging today in the case of a father and daughter found murdered in their rural Mercer County home more than a year ago. We'll tell you what we're learning now about the 2 suspects arrested in the case. And then our crew has just arrived on the scene of breaking news. A local neighborhood is being evacuated because explosives were found inside a home. We'll have the very latest on the situation there. So make sure you join us today at 5 for those developing stories and more. The snowmen in my neighborhood are getting skinnier.
Good.
John and Rich.
That's what they
Shorter too, and then there's just going to be this like lump on the ground for a couple of days, but they will all go away. And I know much to the sadness of the kids, but And we got to get some springtime weather in here just in time for Easter, but
Yep.
Jamie's tracking that rain for Easter coming up at 5.
Encore this broadcast on Digital Channel 7.2.